progress. Sound check, presentation laptop, sound check 1, presentation laptop. Sound check 2, presentation laptop. we go. Sound check 1, or sound check 3 rather. Presentation, sound check 3, presentation.
I'll get started.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Oh, sure, these little pop-ups start coming up. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and members of the public are advised that our meetings are webcast live by the City of Hamilton and temporarily archived on the city's website. As a reminder, all electronic devices will be switched to non-audible function during committee meetings. Members are reminded of the 5-minute time limit, and I have my trusty timer. and which will be adhered to during this meeting. Members can submit another request to speak if they require more time to ask questions or make comments. I'll do the roll call now, and please indicate your presence. Good morning, Councillor J.P. Danko.
Unmute. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Councillor Narinder Nayan.
Good morning. Present.
Good. Thank you. Good morning. And Councillor Maureen Wilson.
Good morning, Chair.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and staff who are also present, I see. Madam Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda today?
No, Madam Chair, there are no changes to the agenda.
Thank you. May I please have a mover and seconder to approve the agenda as presented? Moved by Councillor Nan, second by Councillor Wilson. Vote will come up now. Maybe.
Oh, there it is.
Not quite yet on mine, but okay. Come on, buddy. Okay, let me
Yeah,
go
we have everyone else, Councillor.
Here it is.
Oh,
it's coming. Good. Yep. No, it didn't. It came up first when you did the test vote. Isn't that weird? Here we
Funny.
go. Okay, I've got two things open, so that's fine.
There
okay,
we go.
Got it. Seeing none, may I have approval of the minutes of the previous meeting of November 2nd, 2020? Moved by Councillor Wilson, second by Councillor Danko. All in favor, gain a recorded vote, please. We'll see if it comes up on mine this time. Yeah, it's going to. Super. Excellent. And Madam Clerk?
Yes, Madam Chair, it carried.
Thank you. Now I'm going to go on. So we have no communications, no delegations, no consent items, no public hearings today or presentations. So we're going to go right into discussion items, which is the capital projects closing report as of September 30th, 2020. So I'm just, does everybody want to go through it page by page, or has everybody had an opportunity to read it? And if I just could call out the page numbers, everybody or someone may have a concern with. Is that okay with everyone? Thumbs up? Good, excellent. So then are there any questions of staff on this closing report? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chairperson. I was just wondering if Brian could give us a quick overview so I ensure I understand, particularly recommendation A, starting with defining what is an unallocated capital levy reserve, how much is in it, what principles or stipulations guide its dispensation, and why some of these items were funded from it as opposed to maybe something else. If I could ask that before I get into the particulars of the appendices. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Good question. Brian McMullen, please. Thank you and good morning.
Good morning, councillors, and through the chair, I'm Brian McMullen, Director of Financial Planning, Administration and Policy in the Corporate Services Department. Yeah, so these two reports today, the closing report and the capital status report, are requirements that we've established in our policies over the years to report to committee, and in this case, we do it 3 times a year, as of June 30th, as of September 30th, and as of December 31st year end. So the closing report in particular, what we need authority to do regarding reserves is we need authority to take money from reserves in our policies, but we take the opportunity in this report, on the closing report, in recommendation A that Councillor Wilson is referring to, is we're putting money back into the unallocated capital levy reserve in that case, and then we're taking money, $78,000 from some other sources. So we need approval to do that $78,000 piece in recommendation A that is in, and the projects are in Appendix A. Your question regarding the unallocated capital levy reserve, I don't have the balance handy right now, but it is used for our tax-supported capital projects that don't have other funding sources. So a number of our capital programs have funding sources, which are vehicle and fleet projects have reserves that have been established, so contributions go into those reserves during the operating budget process, and then the monies are approved to come out of those reserves in the capital budget process. And yeah, so regarding the unallocated capital levy reserve, that's essentially for other capital projects that are general in nature, and we use that as a funding source for capital projects. So in our tax capital projects, our rate capital projects are generally funded from rate revenues or the rate reserves that we've referred to as the water, wastewater, and storm reserves. So this one in particular is the unallocated capital levy reserve used for tax-supported capital projects. So this recommendation, we've approved taking money from those reserves. So this report puts the money back into those reserves.
Okay, Councillor Wilson. Sorry, if you're speaking, Councillor Wilson, you're muted. Thank you.
Thank you. Just so I understand that last bit, Brian, in terms of the parameters of this reserve, you said it's for general projects that are general in nature, and that you're taking money from projects, for example, that have been closed or completed, and you're putting it back into this unallocated reserve account. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay. So here's a little bit of what I'm struggling with, just my understanding. So I don't want to focus on any other ward because I don't think that's fair. So I'll just use something I found in Ward 1, for example, Appendix A. If I could, for example, I think there's about $5,000 not spent for a salt dome at the Shadok Yard. So that, to me, in my simple terms, seems a very specific project. But if I understand this, you're saying that much was unused, and because, does this mean that that was funded originally from this unallocated reserve, and therefore it's going back into this general unallocated reserve? If I could use that as an example. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, so through the chair, so that particular project might have had a couple funding sources, one of which it might have been the operating budget. So we have direct contributions from the operating budget to capital. I don't have the specifics on that one handy right now, but in that case, the gross project cost was under the amount that was needed. So the funding source would have either been this capital levy reserve or the operating budget. So we return it to the unallocated capital levy reserve as per the policy. So then it gets used and is available for other projects in other years, and that would, some of that funding would have then come out of the 2021 capital budget that was approved in December.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Brian. I'll let others have a turn. I'm still thinking about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Are there any other questions of Brian or any other staff with regards to this item 9.1? Seeing none, before I close off, Councillor Wilson, did you have anything else? Because we'll just go to the vote on this. Councillor Wilson?
Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
No, I think that's it for
Okay.
now.
Thank you, everyone. Then maybe I please have a mover and a second to approve item 9.1 before us today. And I'll just go back and just read it off. This is the capital project closing report of September 30th, 2020, report FCS 20079A, citywide. Moved by Councillor Wilson, second by Councillor Nahan. All in favor? Get out of that.
The vote should just come up now. There we are.
Thank you, Angela. It did. There we go. Perfect. And I believe that would have carried. item 9.2, which is the capital project status report as of September 30th, 2020, FCS 20078A citywide. And again, staff are in attendance. So here's one where we start with the appendices and go through. With committee's indulgence, do we need to go through every single page that I call out, or does anyone just want to jump in on a page and ask their questions, if that would be more appropriate? Would that be sufficient? Yeah, I think I asked that earlier. That's good. So are there any questions then on any of the appendices before us? And then I think we also have to be careful of Appendix C, which is an in-camera one if we have to go in camera. So, Councillor Wilson, I saw your hand go up. Councillor Wilson?
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Chair. I'm just trying to, as an example, make sure I understand this. I think it's page 52.
Which appendix? Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. Well,
there's an Appendix A and Appendix B.
I think it's A. Sorry, I don't have a printer. Hold on. Let me just check if I'm right. My apologies.
No, not at all. Don't worry.
There's only 20 pages in Appendix B.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 52. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, John Paul.
Just trying to find it. It was in reference to, for example, if you look on page 52 and about halfway down, it's CHH, City Housing Hamilton clearing. Could someone just walk me through that as an example so I understand the columns, please?
Sure.
If anyone is available to do so.
Who's here that will answer that question? And I'm just trying to get to it on my computer. Page 58, you said?
No, Chair, 52 of 62.
Got it. Perfect. I'm there. Okay.
It's about 3/4 of the way down.
Yep. Yes, fine print. So
yeah, I know I'm peering.
I think I should put it on the home computer that's a 22-inch screen.
So Brian here again. So through the chair, I'm not sure if Robin Ellis is on the.
Robin, I just saw her. If she's there, she just popped in, then popped out. Hi, Robin. Good morning.
Good morning. So through the chair, this particular capital project ID is a little bit unusual. So I wasn't sure if I'm going to properly answer the councillor's question. If the councillor's question is more in general what the columns are, and maybe finance could help walk us through that. But in terms of this particular project ID, that was anything that's a clearing account. My understanding is the purpose of it is to essentially zero it out in that money flows in, funds flow in, and funds flow out, unlike other capital project IDs. In this particular case, because City Housing Hamilton, CHH, has a separate financial system, finance was using this project ID at one point. I don't believe we're actually using this system anymore, but we were using this at one point in order to assist in paying staff salaries that were funded from capital, staff that were directly involved in delivering projects for City Housing Hamilton. I understand that we're using a different system now. So hopefully with this particular project ID, I've answered the question, but in terms of walking through the columns, I'm not sure if you wanted to take that, Brian, in general.
Yeah, so through the chair, if you want me to walk it through the columns, so the approved budget, so that particular project wouldn't have an approved budget because it's a clearing, and we're going to allocate those costs back to City Housing Hamilton in the case of 500 McNabb. So the columns are the approved budget, the actual expenditures, the purchase order commitments, and then the available balance, which takes the budget less the actual expenditures, less the the purchase order commitments to come up with what's available, and then we do a percentage completion, and that's percentage completion on the dollars, not percentage completion on the actual project, right? It's just the mathematical calculation of B and C divided by A. So it gives us a general indication of the spending and the commitments to date. And so then some of the comments you'll often see in some of the status explanations is that purchase orders and the financial results need to be sort of cleaned up. So sometimes there will be instances where the purchase order has been set up and it hasn't been necessarily cleared out, and we may have incurred all the costs in the actual expenditure column, but the PO commitment would need to be cleaned up. So that's why you may see some projects that are over, and it's going to suggest that there's a financial close still required, or accounting transactions to be cleaned up. So that's the general column. So you, in the case of the City Housing Hamilton project, the clearing project, there wouldn't be an approved budget because it wasn't approved through a capital budget process or a motion or report that went to committee or council. It's monies that we're performing Robin's group work for City Housing Hamilton, and we're recovering the funds through that project.
So thank you. Through you, Chair. Just, I don't want to nitpick on this, but is it more of an accounting exercise? I just found it odd. It didn't have a budget, but it overspent, and you're using capital monies to pay for operating salaries. Is that the case?
So through the chair, that's what I would say that it is. We're recovering the operating costs from capital projects. So we do that in a number of instances across the city in a number of our projects. There's other instances where you might see that there are other projects that don't have an approved budget either, and that's sometimes there's also some cleanup required because we're waiting for information to come in, and then we would then approve the budget, even though the project has been approved. The budget amount might not have been assigned, and there's a few odd ones like that in this report.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Any other questions of committee? Seeing none, Angela, I'm going to go and ask then for a mover and a seconder on this.
I believe,
sorry, but then
Councillor Nan. Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry, Councillor Nan. My apologies. I turned down to read my map. Go ahead.
It's all good. Thank you. I just wanted to make a general comment on that Appendix A. There was a number of items under parks, infrastructure. I believe nothing in specific here for me to comment on, but just generally, I noticed that there were some project IDs that began in 2010 or 2012. And that some of the challenge, it looks like, is funds were allocated early on, and then that project was a multi-phase project. And so there's a project ID that's been open, for example, since 2012 for Gage Park lighting and walkway enhancements. And I noticed in the notes that there's been a cleaning up that's happening. And so just a comment to staff that I appreciate that those items are going to be closed out. When new works are approved, we'll have a new project ID. I think that that's prudent, so that if there are any leftover unallocated funds, that we're moving those out and working forward with the new path on new projects and new project IDs accordingly. So if I read that correctly, I think that's a congrats. And if I'm incorrect, please feel free to clarify, staff. Thank you.
Can we just have someone confirm that's going to be the process, which I agree is cleaner?
So through the chair, Brian, again, I'm not sure whether Cynthia Graham, that falls under her area of responsibility.
I don't see her. Oh, she may be on this. Don't see her. I see a picture, but there she is.
Hi, through the chair, Cynthia Graham, Manager of Landscape Architectural Services and Public Works. Sorry, I was having issue with my video. Okay. Yes, that's our intention, is that we are reviewing old project IDs. Where possible, we are closing those out and starting with new project ID approvals for new work.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Super. That's wonderful. And I agree with Councillor Nan. It keeps it clean, and that we can follow the path easier. Super. So with that, then just going to go back. Sorry. So that's Appendix A we dealt with. Was there anything in Appendix B? Seeing none. Now, Appendix C is not on here because it's a confidential appendix. So if anybody had any questions with Appendix C, we would have to go in camera. So I'm going to ask first, are there any questions of Appendix B? Seeing none, are there any questions on Appendix C? Okay, so if we're all satisfied with that, then can I have a motion that we
Sorry, pardon to interrupt through the chair. It's Angela from the Parks
Angela.
Department. The recommendations are for the appendices to be received in the report, but I would say that I would like it to be an approval because I would like the closed appendice to be received and remain confidential.
Absolutely. Okay, I will do that. So may I please have a mover and a seconder to receive and approve item 9.2 appendices A, B, and C. Councillor John Paul Danko, seconded by Councillor Nan. All in favor? Oh, and that report, Appendix C, remain confidential. Can I add that? Everybody's good with it? Thank you, everyone. Vote is up. Great. Just so very efficient. Thank you to staff. May I please have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Councillor Nan, second by Councillor Wilson. All in favor?
Coffee time.
Coffee time. And Angela, Carrie? Thank you, Angela.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Stay safe. Till the next meeting. Bye now.